right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kunal, and I'll be a junior next year at Harker. And this is a very bad intro, but you should always practice these sorts of things. Yeah. If you ever see the best thing is if you're ever gonna like present in front of like a decently large audience or anything, you should always practice beforehand. So don't do what I did. But yeah, I mean, today's workshop, or well, not today's, like right now, the workshop is really about uh, app development. So we're going to be talking about, sort of the basics. I'll be introducing you to MIT App Inventor, like specifically, and then I'll also give you like a couple of resources like moving forward, because, as I'll sort of go into later, MIT App Dev is like pretty introductory. It's a nice I'm saying introductory too much. It's a nice tool to get familiar with how app dev works, but it's really not something you want to use like way in the long term. So, once you get a little bit more familiar with this sort of thing and you get more into the habit of coding more and more, you probably want to move on to something more advanced. Okay. And everyone can see the slides, right? Because I've had problems with this sort of thing before. Okay.
Yeah, we can see them.
Okay, great. Oh, and then at any point, if anyone has any questions or anything, I'm going to be looking at the chat like constantly. That's why I have like this weird 2-monitor thing set up. So yeah. Okay. So basically what it is, it's a web-based tool. So what that means is that like you're going to be working on it like in your browser. You don't really have to like download anything unless you want to download the emulator, in which case, then you obviously do need to download like a program. What the emulator does is basically so it emulates an Android environment. What that basically means is if you have an app that you've made in MIT App Inventor, you can open the emulator and you can test out how it looks and stuff. I have split feelings about this because it's very glitchy and it is also very slow. But this is definitely an easy way to try it out, especially if you don't want to like install the app that they have on like your phone. Because especially if you have like an Android, it'll give you like 30 warnings on like trying to sideload an app. So it's not great. But if you want to go with the emulator, I'll put the link for that in the chat. There have been issues with this, so like you have to, or with the link, I mean. So some people have said that like you can't actually click on the link, you have to like copy and paste the link in. I'm not entirely sure because for some people it worked and for some it didn't. But if you want to go to the emulator, that's where that is. And basically how you're going to start off is you just want to go to the website and like make an account. So, fairly basic stuff. And also for testing, you can download either the companion app like on your phone, or you can get the emulator. These things are a bit glitchy, so it's not super important today. Because I mean, I'm basically going to be walking you through like the entire thing anyway, so I don't think there's that many sort of places where you can mess up, but it's always a nice to have in case you do it later. Okay. I am going to be running through this like pretty quickly since there's a recording and you can refer back to it or whatnot. So if you fall behind, that's like pretty okay. Just try to like focus on you know uh what's kind of going on. Okay. So once you do like actually get in, and then basically you'll come to a projects tab here. Wait, let me see if I can. So you'll come to a thing that looks like this. So it'll just have like this, it'll say projects, and it'll be like a blank screen basically. From here, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna go into projects and just start a new project, and we'll just call it whatever. Right now, this is sort of just a testing one, so I'll just call it test, or not, because that already exists in my trash. We'll just call it that. Okay, great. And if you just wait a second, it'll like open it up for you. So from here, basically what you have is you have like this kind of jank looking phone screen. And then on the left, you have this palette. And basically what the palette has is like a bunch of components. So you have like buttons, checkboxes, and all of these have like various purposes that you can do. You know, most of these are pretty self-explanatory. Like you drag a button onto the screen, it's something that the person using is gonna like click to try to do something. So fairly standard stuff, and there's a lot of room to like explore here. Like we'll be using a lot of these today when we sort of make like a basic app. So we'll be using layout, we'll be using a button, we'll be using like the canvas. So, you know, I'll try to explain most of these as we go along. But basically these are components that you can drag on and arrange on your screen. And this is basically what's gonna show up here. And once, I think this is a decent demonstration, if I drag like a button on here, then it's also going to show up near the component screen because it's underneath the screen. And so anything you drag on here is going to like show up here. And, you know, you can have like this list view. Okay, I'm just going to, okay. From here, if we go to like the button, for instance, you'll see in properties, there's like a bunch of stuff about said button. So if I wanted to like bold the font, for example, you can do that. You can italicize it, change the font size, that sort of thing. And then there's also these, so, you know, you can like fill parent will basically make it as wide as or as tall as the screen, that sort of thing. So you know, you can control dimension, you can control what it does, that sort of thing. Again, you don't really need to know every specific thing that goes on here, and you can always just go back in your own time and explore if you're curious about that sort of thing. Okay. Now, even if you like drag all of your stuff out on here, though, most of the time, well, actually all of the time, it's not really going to do anything. Like even if you have a button on here and you like click it, it doesn't like really know what to do by itself. And so that sort of behavior, right? Like the way that the different elements interact with each other, you code that through the blocks. And this is very, very similar to like, it's basically the same as like Scratch. So if you ever work with like block coding, that's basically what this is. And you're able to control like a variety of things. So if we go into button here, you'll see that there's a bunch of like blocks specific to the button. So if we were to like go when button one dot click, you know, this gets called when you click the button. Yeah, exactly. So someone just said in the, like basically MIT came up with the block coding system and now they're going to use it wherever they can. So, you know, they'll use it in Scratch and they'll use it here. The same, yeah. Okay. So you have this sort of thing, and then, you know, you can change things. So like if we go here, there's also a bunch of attributes and like, you know, the set. So, you know, if button one was not bolded before, once you click it, maybe you want it to, or actually, no, that's not. So basically, so this is like a value of whether it is bolded or not. Basically the bold is like a Boolean, or like it's basically a true false. So if I just take this off. So let's say it wasn't bolded before, and when it clicks, I want to bold it. I'd basically just drag this on. And basically when I click the button, it's gonna bold it now, that sort of thing. So you can change how things look based on what's going on behind the screen. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree with William there. I don't know if I agree with Scratch being the best language in the world. But yeah, so this is sort of very generally how it works. You know, you have components on your screen, and then you can, you know, change how they work and, you know, have them interact with each other using the blocks. So from here, what we can do now is, I think, I have like one app in mind that's like kind of semi-complex, and we can start with that first. So we're just gonna start a new project. I don't know what's the best name for this. I'm just gonna call it Mole Mash. I don't know. Okay, great. So basically the point of this, and here, let me see if I can get my phone to work for this. The point of this game is essentially that you have like a little picture of a mole running around, and you want to like and you want to like basically try to hit it as many times as possible. You know, it's like whack-a-mole, pretty like universal sort of thing. Okay. So if I share, oh, I have to enable screen sharing for myself. That's amazing. Oh, did I? Oh, okay. Here, I'm gonna end this screen share for like just a second because I sort of wanna. So this is like on my phone now. So this is the game running on my phone. So you can kind of see that, or is it not? Okay, yeah, there you go. It's just a bit slow. Okay. So this is a game running on my phone. You can see that there's like this little mole running around. I'm trying to tap him, but I'm okay. Okay, I'm not gonna defend Android right now. All right, it's a debate I don't want to get into. Okay, but basically you have this mole thing running around, and you have like a timer, and you have like this reset button that just reset your time and your score, so you can, and I'm trying to tap him, but like I'm kind of bad. So like the point is that you have like a time limit. I'll kind of just let this run now because I want to show the other screen here, right? How long is 30 seconds? 30 seconds. Well, you'll all make this like right now. Well, not right now, but like in the next like few minutes or so. I feel like I'm being flamed here, all right? Okay, but there you go. So this is the ending screen, and basically you have a game over screen and you can like start a new game. There you go. You probably could make Flappy Bird with this. I don't know if you would want to. I feel like, again, I'll go over this at the end, but there's probably a better way to make Flappy Bird. And I'm also gonna like stop sharing now. Okay, great. So thank you for loving the game. That's very nice. Okay, so that's basically what we're gonna be making. So the way that's gonna work is, first things first, you might have seen that like at the top, we had a thing for the score and the time left. So how we're gonna do that is, because we're gonna treat them as two separate, so we're gonna use labels for the text, but we're gonna treat them as two separate labels. And the way to get to, because like if you try to drag two on right now, they're gonna like be on different lines, and we don't really want that. So what you're gonna wanna do is, so I'm just gonna delete both of these. And this is where the other stuff comes in. So if you go down into layout, you'll see that there's like this horizontal arrangement thing that you can kind of just drag on. And it looks ugly right now, but it'll look less ugly. So you have this horizontal arrangement thing. And this isn't actually visible to the viewer. This is just to show you like where that area is being occupied. So you go into user interface and you can put two labels next to each other. And this is really annoying because you'll see it wants to go like either above or below. So you just kind of have to like there. And then as soon as you can't see the blue thing, that means it's inside. So that's how you know. And it'll like slot it next to each other. Now to make this like go the whole screen, we basically change the size of this. So this will go there. And then also if we go that way, you'll see that they both kind of shifted there. And the way we're gonna fix that, this is a bit hacky, so like not the best, most elegant solution, but basically we're gonna make this take up like as much space as possible. And we're gonna make sure that the text is aligned to the right. So that way you'll see that there's now a text to the left and there's text to the right. And it looks like they're very separate, even though according to the thing itself, they're like right next to each other. Okay, great. I'm just gonna label this score label. I'm gonna label this timer label. And please, and I mean this for like kind of things in general, not just like app development, remember to name things very carefully, because if you lose track of what is what, it's very, very annoying. Like more annoying than you can imagine. It's really bad. So make sure to label things so that you know exactly what they are when you want to like refer to them in like a long list or like a long, text of code. How did I drag label 2 to the right of label 1? Well, it doesn't really. So I use this horizontal arrangement thing. So if you have that there, then you can like slot them both in. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm assuming that sort of makes sense. Kind of. You just drag one of these and then you can like sort of drag labels next to each other. So you want to make sure that's not like on the top or the bottom. Like there's this, once those two blue lines disappear, you can like put them next to each other. You can put like 3 or 4 even. I would not recommend it, but there you go. So it'll just like put a bunch of labels next to each other. And you can always refer back to the recording because I think, you know, I did go over this, I believe. Okay, I'm just gonna, can I delete this? Okay, and that takes away the whole thing, great. We preferably don't want the score label starting off with the text for label 1. So down here is where the text thing is. So you can just go here and say score. I'm just going to put 0 there. So it'll show a score 0. And I'm also going to like bold it, I think. And then I'm just going to like, I don't know, I like monospace. This is the part where you can sort of like customize it yourself a little bit. It doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of going with what I think looks nice. This isn't really functionally relevant. So I'm just going to like, I think I'm also going to make the font size a bit bigger. 20, sure. And for consistency's sake, I'm going to do the same thing here. So 20, bold, monospace. And then here, I just want to say time 30. So that way you have a score, you have time. So, you know, standard stuff. Okay. The screen one, it does. I think you might have mixed it. So if you don't want screen 1, like here at the top appearing, what you can actually do, because I think it's like not really that noticeable, but if you want to change that, you can go here into screen 1, and you can go down here, I believe. I might have missed it. Oh no, it's down here. So title, and you can change it to whatever you want. Maybe just, yeah, mole mash, sure. I don't know. There you go. So it'll change it right there. So yeah. Great. So once we've got this set up, basically the area that like the mole is gonna sort of like with the so you're gonna go into, and then I'm gonna make the space. You can sort of this is gonna like change to hide the title, removes the gray bar. Yes. Yes. If you want to hide the title entirely, then you can just, I believe there's a hide title. Yeah, title visible. That'll take away the gray bar here at the top. If my computer wants to scroll. Yeah. So this, you know, gray thing here at the top, it should take it away. Okay. Also, my computer seems to be lagging a bit. So if like my voice is choppy or anything, please do put it in the chat. Okay. So we have this canvas, but it's very mole-less right now. So we're just going to drag in an image sprite. And basically, this is again very similar to like if you've worked with Scratch, like the way sprites work in Scratch, it's very similar here. So like it's just a thing that can do stuff inside of the canvas. And you're going to want to like actually upload. So the way you're going to actually add the image of a mole in is that you're going to use this media thing down here. So if you upload and then choose file, and then hopefully again. Okay, so I have mole.png here, and that'll just open. And then when I do that, it's going to upload it. The way I'm going to do this for everyone else, I'm going to drop it in the chat. I know that I think it should probably be fine that way. So if I just go here, and if, okay, so I put the picture of a mole in the chat. So I think everyone can just grab it off of there. Okay. So you have this image sprite, and basically you'll notice that it's still an image sprite though, and that's because we haven't actually told it to use this picture. So down here, there's this thing called picture, and we're just gonna use mole.png. And there you go, you have a angry looking mole because he's about to be hit in the head. So yeah, we have this guy, and he's basically gonna be able to move wherever the canvas is. Okay. And we should probably also rename this. So I'm going to name this mole sprite, if I can type mole sprite. I'm going to name this, I'll just name it like mole canvas. Again, this one doesn't have too many like moving parts here, so it's fine if you're like a little, you're slacking a little bit on the naming, but preferably that should not be the case. Okay, and then at the bottom, we're just gonna wanna put like a reset button. So this one's just fairly simple. Reset, and then obviously you can customize with like these sorts of settings. I'm just gonna say reset. Don't wanna go with a custom. I think it's fine as it looks, honestly. I'm just going to make the font size a bit bigger. Sure. I think we can also just, there we go. So I use the width to sort of expand it everywhere. And I also like the rounded edges. So if you go here and you go into shape, you can select like rounded. So that'll basically round out the corners of the button. I think that just like looks a bit nicer. Okay. Great, so we have this done. And basically, this is going to be the main screen where you're like playing the game. We do, however, also need another screen, and that's basically just the like end game screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and add screen, and I'm just gonna say, I don't know, and I'm just gonna call it screen. Okay, I'm just gonna call it end game screen. And replace all the spaces with underscores, or however you want to do it. I know some people prefer like camel case, and other people like the whole underscore thing. So either way you want. Okay, this one's also pretty simple. We're just gonna have game over. We'll just call it, I don't know, game over. And we're gonna wanna do width fill parent. So that way it has control over the entire width of the screen. And then we can set text alignment to center, and that way it's centered. I'm gonna like bold it. 25 seems about fine, and I still like monospace, so I'm still going with that. Okay. Just drag another one out for the score. I'll just name it score label. Same thing. I'm just gonna set the width to like the whole thing. This one I'm gonna go a little smaller, so I'll say 20. Monospace also bolded. And then the text alignment should be the center again. Or I mean, you can technically put it to the side. I don't know. I feel like that looks ugly. Again, this doesn't really functionally matter. It's just kind of like, a little bit into the aesthetics, I would say. So from here, I'm just gonna say score 0. That'll be the initial thing, but we'll make sure to like update the score based on what you actually got. Actually, we can even say your score. Okay. And then we'll just put like a button here at the bottom. And we'll say new game. And this one I actually do want like a green background color. So you'll see that that sort of changes. Bold font. It just gets progressively smaller, the font size. Okay. So yeah, you can sort of just, again, go ahead and customize however you want, like the text to look, or, in this case, the button. You can also play around, like, there's an oval shape. I feel like that looks really, bad, though, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. There's like the rectangular and the default are basically the same, because, yeah, and then you have the rounded one. And I'm going to make it so that it's also, like, in the middle. So there we go. So you have this, and then you have, like, a new game button. This one's more simple than, like, the other one. Okay, now we're gonna get to the code. So we're gonna start with the code for screen 1, and I feel like I should rename this. So if I go here, I think it requires one to be screen 1. I don't think you can rename this one. Yeah. Okay, I mean, it's not too big of a deal. Okay. So there's kind of a lot of things going on here. So first of all, we're gonna need two like variables for like score and time. So we're just gonna like go here and like we're just gonna initialize two global variables. So score, time, and we're gonna initialize the score to 0, but the time to 30, because the time is gonna be like a countdown from 30 to 0. So okay, great. And then I think we sort of like in the last lecture too, we went over like functions, but like functions here are like procedures. I don't know why they felt the need to like rename that. I feel like everyone knows what a function is and nobody knows what a procedure is, but okay. Well, I mean, I guess people know what a procedure is, just like not in this context, you know what I mean? Okay. I'm ranting now, but yes. So basically functions are called procedures here. So we're gonna call this function, I don't know, like move mole. And this one can't have any like spaces or anything in it. So just make sure of that. And basically from here, what we're gonna wanna do is the way the mole actually moves is that we're just gonna like set its X and Y to something random inside of the canvas. And this is arguably the kind of annoyingest part of this entire thing. So if we go to the mole sprite, if it wants to open, so we go down here, and if you scroll down enough, like I think all the way at the bottom, you'll see set mole sprite dot x2, and you're just gonna want to like plop that in, and then right after you're gonna want to plop in set mole sprite dot y. Great. From there, you're gonna need the math thing, and we're actually just gonna be attaching. Okay, we're just gonna be attaching this multiplication one. And the reason that we have to do that is because for whatever reason, you can't like do a random number in a range. It'll just give you a random fraction and you kind of have to multiply that with whatever you want, which is really annoying, but whatever, we live with it, right? So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this thing called random fraction. So you can plop that in. And this is basically where all the randomness comes in, right? He's going to move somewhere random on where like the canvas is. And then from there, these are basically going to be like X or Y coordinates. And the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to have, so we're going to need this -1, 2, because it turns out that coordinates for the mole are measured from its corner, like the top left-hand corner. So if we don't do this, there's a chance that it'll like put the corner like near the edge and half of the mole is going to be like off the screen, which is annoying. So yeah, there's a lot of edge cases to consider. That's the sort of like really annoying part here. So once we have that though, we can go down here and we can say mole canvas dot width, if I can find it. Width is all the way at the bottom, okay. For the X. So you want width for the X and height for the Y. And then what you want to subtract from here is basically the width of the mole sprites and then the height of the mole sprite for the other one. And basically this makes sure that when the mole sprite moves somewhere random, it's inside the canvas and like therefore inside of the screen. Because if it's not inside of the canvas, it just like won't show up. Okay. That is arguably the most complicated part of this done. I mean, from here on, it's mostly just like, you know, like label manipulation. So we're also just gonna, I think for consistency's sake, we'll do like a couple more of these procedures and I'll say update time label. And basically this function or this procedure is gonna be in charge of updating the label for the time because that does not, you know, change by itself. Oh, and I'm just realizing I forgot to add something. Okay, that's fine. So, okay, I kind of forgot about this. So go back into your designer, and basically what you're gonna want to do is if you go down to sensors, you'll see this thing called a clock. And basically we can program the clock so that it, calls a certain block of code at set intervals. So like if we want something to happen once every second, like we want the timer to like tick down once every second, it's useful to have like a clock. Or if we want like the mole to move like every half a second or 1 second, we can use a clock. So I'm gonna drag out like 2 clocks, and you'll see that they don't like go on the screen anywhere. They just kind of, also I'm realizing that this button should be called reset button. Okay, did it even, I don't even think it went, okay. So yeah, you'll see down here, non-visible components, like clock shows up. I'm gonna use 2 different clocks. So I'll use one for like just a timer, and then the other one I'll use as like a mole timer. So the timer we'll use to like tick down the time. And the mole timer we'll use to decide how often the mole is just like moving randomly. So I'm gonna set this to 1,000 milliseconds, so 1 second. And I'm gonna set this one to 500 milliseconds, which will be half a second. Also a riveting conversation in the chat, I'm gonna be honest. Okay. So basically from here, so to update the time label is gonna be fairly straightforward. All we're gonna do is we're gonna set the timer label dot text if it wants to like actually go here. And then the way we like do custom text is that we have like this whole text thing. We're gonna have to use this thing called join, which will basically join like 2 pieces of text. It's like, concatenating strings or something like that. So we go here, and this way we'll have like this part, and then also we can like, if it wants to, oh, it just wants to stay there. Okay. So we'll have like the text, and you'll have like the timer with like whatever time is left. And you're basically gonna want to do the same thing for, so you can actually probably just duplicate this. Yeah. So you're gonna want to do the same thing for the score label. So I'm just gonna say update score label. And basically you can just like change this drop down. And basically, so you'll have these 2 that each update the time label or the score label like by itself. Okay. Then what you're gonna want to do, I think. Okay, so now we're gonna use the 2 clocks that we just added. So when timer.timer, very helpfully named, basically this is gonna happen every 1 second. So this is when we take down like 1 second off the time. However, once the time is at 0, we actually want it to like go to the end game screen. So we're gonna go here to control. We're just gonna go into if. And if we go here into math again, there's like this equal one. Just plop that there. And then we can just get the time. And we're basically gonna say if the time is already at 0, then like move to another screen. So open another screen. And make sure to do the one that also gives you the option for start value. So that way we can like send the score that we have to the other screen. Okay, so this is the screen name. You're gonna have to like match this exactly. So here, wait, let me end game screen, okay. So there you go, there's your screen. And then for the start value, we want to pass in the score. So no, not that. So that way, when you open the other screen can sort of read the score that you have. If that's not the case though, or like just, because if this is the case, then it's just going to open the other screen. You don't really have to worry about anything. However, if that's not the case, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to set the time to like 1 minus itself. And there's no like minus here, so you're going to have to like drag out this. It's very annoying. So the previous time minus 1. There you go. Oof. People are really being hit hard by the time zones, aren't they? Oh no. I will say, if it's like 1:47 in the morning for you, please do go to sleep. Like, this will be on YouTube. It's fine. Don't do that to yourself. Okay. Yeah, okay. I don't even know why that's on label 2 to the right of the screen. I just didn't want, that's fine. Okay. I will say this, it's fine for that sort of thing. Just like, it's fine to like put it in the chat there, because I don't know how I feel about tracking back to that now. Let me finish this up and then I'll see if I'll get back to it. No, it's not your fault. Okay, it's fine. Okay, I'm gonna finish this part of the code first. So we're just gonna, at the end of this, once we've like done the time, we're just gonna update the time label, or else it's gonna stay the same. We've just like, subtracted the variable, but we also want to like update the label. Okay, great. Now let's do the mole timer. And this one's actually kind of simple because we already wrote the code for this one. Basically, when the mole, needs to move, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna like call move mole. Fairly simple stuff. And the funny part is, I don't think the people on YouTube can see the chat, so that's gonna be amazing. Okay. Okay. We're basically almost done with the code here, but I'm gonna like zoom out a bit so people can actually look at the whole thing, kind of. So I'm just gonna. Okay. So we're almost done with the code. Basically, now all that needs to happen is we need to code the thing for the reset button, and we need to code it for when you actually hit the sprite. So, like when you hit the mole. So if you go here and you go down a bit, you'll see it says when mole sprite dot touched. So what you can do there is this means that you hit the thing. And so basically what you want to do from there is you want to set the score, and you're basically going to do what happened here, but like in the opposite. So you're just going to do this. So you're going to say whatever the score was before, you want to do that +1. That is the plus, right? And that's not like the divide one. My eyes aren't working right now. That is the plus. Okay. One. Okay, cool. So your score gets increased. And from there, you want to call update score label. So your score label. Yeah, like touched means, yeah, it's on a phone. That's fine. I know. Sometimes when you're working on a computer, you sort of get lost with like, yeah, okay. And then from here, you probably should also, that's pretty much good enough. So you get the score and then you update the score label. Last thing is for the reset button. Basically, when someone clicks the reset button, all you really need to do is you're going to set both. So you're going to set your score to 0 and your time to 30 again. Okay, great. And then you're going to want to like update both of the labels. So update the score label and then update the time label so that you can like see what's going on. And then the very, very last thing for this is that essentially when the screen initializes, just for like redundancy's sake, you also want to do like set these two. So I'm just gonna duplicate this. So basically, when the screen initializes, make sure that your score and your time are 0 and 30. Okay, so this is all the code done for screen one. This is like most of the code. We're almost done with the code. Basically, from now, you go to screen or the end game screen. And so if you go back here, you'll see that you have this, you have the score and the new game. So basically, all you need to do is you're going to go here. And whenever it initializes, basically, you're going to set the score label to whatever you got. So we get here. And we're just going to say text. Right? So you have your score. And then whatever like the score you get passed on is. And the way you get that is you go down here into control and you get start value. So basically, this is the score that we passed on from here. So we sent in the global score and we'll read it from here. So that way, you know, the score is accurate. And then just the last thing that you really need to do is that when, did I not change this? Okay, here, wait. Again, I'm not even following my own advice. So if you go to designer, make sure to rename this to like new game button. I should really follow more of my own advice. Okay, so when this gets clicked, basically you're just gonna want to like open another screen. And you're just gonna open screen one. And you don't need a star value or anything. So there you go. And that's basically the whole thing done. So it'll send you back. So yeah, this is a good question. So basically what happens here is you click the button, right? And it'll send you back to this screen. And what'll happen from here is when we've initialized it, we've set your score and your time, you know. And once that happens, the timer is going to start as soon as it initializes. So the timer is going to keep going. So once the timer gets to like here, right, it'll kick this in and it'll start updating again, like same as usual. So the timer sort of just keeps going. Okay. And that's basically the app. Now, let me sort of explain how to get this on your phone. There's a couple of ways. If you're on iOS, the only way for you to do this is with the companion app. So what you're gonna like, what you can do is you can go to the App Store and just search for like MIT App Inventor, and like it should pop up. And from there, what you're gonna want to do is you can probably just click build, and it'll say app provide QR code, and you should be able to just scan the QR code and it should work. Like it should let you install. Oh, you do. See, this is why I don't use an iPhone. It's just, why do you need a credit card to install an app? You know, like okay, I'm not gonna start that over again. But yes, that might. I don't know actually if that like 100% works because I haven't tried it out with like an iPhone myself. I've heard other people say that it's worked for them, but it is not by any means a guarantee. So it should work. I mean, the app itself is free. So, I mean, I think it should probably be fine. If you're on Android, you can like use the companion app. The other thing you can do is you can save the .apk, which is basically like an Android app. It's like, you know, a .exe for like an application, or like a .dmg for like, is that the file extension that like Mac apps use? I don't know. I checked out of the Apple. It's .app. That's so weird. I don't know. I checked out of the whole, yeah, I checked out of the whole like Apple ecosystem. It's an installer. I mean, that's basically the way the .apk works too. Like I like, we don't have to go there, but yes, the .apk is technically an installer. It'll like install the app on your phone. It's like a zip file. I don't know. I checked. Well, zip file is just like, you know, a compressed file. So there's probably something inside of it that you open, right? .dmg is like a zip. I don't know. Again, Apple. Am I right? It's kind of, yeah. I see. I never understood this. Just okay. I don't want to, because I get a lot of, anytime I talk about like why I personally don't like Apple, it gets okay. .pkg. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. It's .pkg for Apple. So yeah, so you can like save it as a file, and then if you can like, I don't know, like email that to yourself on your phone or something, then you can like install it on your phone, and that's how you could get it. Oh my God, we started a Mac OS versus Windows war, not again. Okay, but yes, this is the way you can do it. The other thing, that's also a fair point. I don't know why you would ever do that, because like Macs are kind of, yeah, I think the only reason that Mac wins, like Mac OS wins there, is because it's basically like repackaged Linux. Unix, oh no. Okay, we oh, we're getting into that territory now. Okay. But basically, yeah, this is the way to do it. If you want the whole project with like, you know, all of the blocks of code or whatever, if you want to use you know, if you want to like open this up and edit it somewhere else, you can also just export it as a project. It'll do like a .aia, and then you can like import it from your computer on like another device or whatever. Yes, back on topic indeed. So yes, this should be the app, you know, that's basically how it should work. Okay, and we have 10 minutes left, so let's see if I can finish my slides. There's not that much to them left, but yeah, this is sort of a good, you know, amalgamation of all of the different things that you would use for MIT App Inventor. It's a bit, you know, probably because you could probably guess from like the Scratch basis itself that it's a bit primitive. Like you can do a lot with it, like relatively, but it's still very limited in what, you know, compared to other tools that, you know, are more popular. So if we sort of, yeah, we kind of went over this. Okay, great. We made that. We went over exporting apps. You can use the APK here or the project files here. Okay, so for the more advanced tools, so this is once like, you know, you've played around with App Inventor a bit, you know, you feel really comfortable with it, that sort of thing. So React Native, this is pretty cross-platform. It's developed by Facebook, but it's still pretty popular. It's really good, you know, like Discord, like the Discord app uses it, and like a bunch of other, you can as well. And you know, if you explore a little bit further, you'll find that like web dev and app dev have a lot of things in common. It's, there's also React. Okay, yeah, but this is a pretty good one. For Android specifically, Google developed Flutter. Flutter is really good. Like you can get some really, really nice looking apps with Flutter as well. But again, these are like really complicated. You know, even I don't really like know them super well. Android Studio, I don't really. Android Studio is basically a really fancy text editor for like Android apps specifically. You know, it has a few features that you can help. Like honestly, just use IntelliJ. Yeah, so Swift is for iOS specifically, so Apple's developed Swift for that. Yeah, so JetBrains, I mean, in general, has a lot of, so, you know, like this is based on IntelliJ, which is a really popular IDE from JetBrains. If like JetBrains offers a lot of like different platforms or like different IDEs to code off of, so there's a lot of room there. And then for games sort of specifically, I don't really know why you would use Unity besides that. But for games specifically, you can use Unity. Unity is like really like, for the people who know what Unity is, it's a bit up there. Yeah, it's for like 3D stuff. It's very professional. Like even sort of the main, like, like really high definition looking games on like PC or Xbox or like PlayStation are made using Unity. Oh God, user interfaces in Unity. Okay, but yes, so these are like a lot of the places you can go. So this is sort of that. So yeah, thank you for guys for coming, and sort of, I feel obligated to do this. And if you want to like, be a little slow with it and want to get a little bit more into app dev without, like going straight into one of these, you can sign up from our courses. We have an intro to app dev course, so we actually do a little bit of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, that kind of thing, because it's very analogous to that, especially later on when you try to like, just do it through code. The process is very similar. So, that gives you, and we do a lot more examples with like MIT App Inventor. So that's somewhat useful if you want to, sign up for that. And we also have a lot of other courses that you can look at. I'll put the link in the chat. Okay. Anyone have any questions? And it doesn't have to be coffee mixed with tea. Yeah, I would imagine coffee and whiskey. That's not okay. So we ended a bit early, honestly. So we have 7 minutes now. I don't know particularly if there's anything that much to do. What's my favorite color? Red. But yes, if you have any other questions, it doesn't have to be about app dev in particular, like just in general, you can also ask me that. Preferably like related to coding, like not more of the favorite color stuff. But okay. Favorite coding music. Have I used React Native? I personally have not. I don't actually do that much app dev. I just, I'm primarily a Java coder, so that should tell you a lot, if you know what that means. So I'm not really that much into app dev. I know a fair amount, but I personally have not used React Native. Have you used Spring for desktop apps with Java? Swing. Yes, Swing is annoying. We had to do it once for like a lab in APCS. Don't use Swing if you can avoid it. Swing is. Were you ever traumatized by a fruit? Very specific question. I don't. Where do you guys get this from? It happened to you. Okay. No, I have not. That is an experience that has yet to happen to me. This feels like a blooper reel at the end. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah. Okay. Capers are the okay. Yeah, I do think so. All right. All right. I know I'm asking for questions a lot. I just want to like make sure no one has any other questions, because then we can sort of end the lecture right there. My favorite language. I'm a strong believer in like having a bit more like capability and just letting like the programmer handle like some of the other stuff. Like, you shouldn't have like type safety, like, you should have like, type safety and stuff like that. Like use int, don't be like Python, like I hate Python for this. Like you don't have to define ints or longs or, like you should have control over that, I feel like. So for me, it's C++ personally, but it is falling out of, favor a little bit. C++ is a bit old. So like nowadays, the only thing that you actually use it for are like coding competitions or like really, really like severe backend stuff. But even that, like most people nowadays, a lot of people are like moving on to things like Rust. So, like Python personally, Python has a market, data scientists and people who don't really like Python is arguably the programming language that was made for people who don't want to learn programming languages. Is like my take on it, which is fair, you know, like that's not an experience that everyone should have to go through, especially if you're like a data scientist just trying to make a neural network. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I personally am not a big fan of Python. I'm gonna be real with you, but it's, you know, it has a market. There's a reason that a lot of people use it. So, you know, that's has to come from somewhere. Okay, I think that's it then. It's been fun. I'm a bit concerned with the chat, but you know, that's not really my place to say. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kunal. That was great. And thanks for the conversation as well. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed, and thank you so much once again.
Yeah. Great luck to you
and you
guys
can drop
with
your
it.
like, GitHub and Instagram in the and LinkedIn in like the channel if you want, and people can go follow you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really have a LinkedIn, to be honest. I should. People have been telling me that I should like set one up, and like I never use my. I'm very antisocial, but I will drop my Instagram in the chat. Nothing ever goes on there. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I've used it at all. So so that's my Instagram. And I will here, wait, let me see if, and my GitHub is honestly very uninteresting. It's mostly just like stuff for our robotics club. So I don't know if that would actually be useful. And I don't know if they would want that. Oh, you just like take all of the code from like our robotic, like our seasons. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're
Yeah,
gonna do.
that's the goal. Okay. Sure, why not? I think it's all private anyway. It's pretty, I will drop it there anyway though. So that's my GitHub. If anyone wants that. You want to see my, I should probably, now that I realize it, I probably should make sure that it's actually private. I'll do that later. Okay. Great. Yeah, it's been really fun. The chat is, exactly. It's I don't really use it a lot. I set it up explicitly for robotics. Yeah, okay. Robotics code is private. Thank goodness for that. I don't think my team wants me leaking our code. It's not that interesting anyway. Private robotics, yeah. It's going to be very confusing for the people on YouTube because like they can't see the chat. So it's going to be, the whole thing is going to be an enigma to them. They're going to be like, he's, you know, true psychopath and just talking to himself. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording now.